Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. We do a lot of projects, training, and consulting. So welcome to one Tuesday a month. I do 2 office hours episodes in one day to catch different time zones. So this is that one time a month when I'm doing what for me is early. It's 10 a.m. here in Italy, and I'm always hoping to catch people way east of me. So welcome. So this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. You are welcome to ask any question that you would like answered. And you can ask it at deltacx.link/ask. And if you're ever unsure what to do, you can always drop by the links page. That will help you get there from here. deltacx.com/links has all of the links and typical things people ask me about the stream. Now, I didn't get any questions ahead of time for today's stream, so if you have a question, you'll be first. Other than that, we'll just wait a few minutes to see if anybody joins and has questions. If nobody joins or nobody has questions today, we'll just wrap it up early. Otherwise, I will take your questions. So I'm going to set a timer, let's say 7 minutes. And if nobody has a question in the next 7 minutes, we'll just wrap it up. I'll be back here in 8.5 hours doing this again at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. So again, if anyone's watching, good morning, good evening. This is Office Hours. I just hang out and wait until you have questions. Anybody have a question? All questions are welcome. No questions are stupid, at least not yet. You could be the first. Let's see, I'm just checking if I'm missing any questions. Nope, so far my emails just look like the usual garbage. Oh, I accidentally put it on 7 hours. Well, that's not going to be right. Okay, we're getting an anonymous question. Please hold. 7 hours. No, I've got work to do. All right, let's see what's coming in. All right, we've got a question. Let me copy and paste it and share it with everybody here, and then we can talk about it. Okay, question. Sorry, it's a copy and paste world here, and it's slow when it's just me. Okay, the question says, hey, Debbie, good morning. Hey, good morning. And then it says, how important is tagging? At the end of the research process, we tag up the transcripts from our interviews, which is an intensive process. Do you have any best practice advice? Thanks. Yes. So I think depending upon what you have and what you're looking to do with it, tagging can be very helpful and important. If you are tagging stuff and then doing nothing with those tags, like if you're spending hours going through transcripts and looking for things people said and tagging or coding those, and then you don't do anything with those tags or codes, then you're absolutely right. That seems to be a waste of time. Good morning, Karen. So if you are doing something with the tagging, then it's probably good. So some of the things that we do with the tagging when we do it, and also we're using Dovetail, and I should say hashtag not sponsored. I'm paying Dovetail. They're not paying me. So I would say we use the tagging for 2 main things. One would be, hi Manuel. One would be organizing what we heard into themes. So the tagging can help give you a head start on organizing things into themes because you gave it a tag, and now you can easily find everything that has that tag if you're using a system like Dovetail, and it's easy to find those things later. If you're not using a system like that, it might be a lot of work to try to find things of a common theme later. So that helps us in Dovetail. Again, not sponsored. You can use any tool you like. Because then we can, when we write our report or do our presentation, we can easily find, here's all the things people said about why your checkout sucks. Here's all the things people said about having trouble signing up. And that way these things are kind of ready to go. They're all together in the theme. We can pick and choose some quotes and it's ready to go. Oh, hi, Daniel. Good to see you too. The second thing that we use the tagging for, and again, this is more of a Dovetail feature, so it might not make sense depending upon what tool you're using. But in Dovetail, we can take things that we've tagged. We can filter those out. So let's say, show me everybody who had trouble signing up because we tagged it that way. And then we can pick some of our favorite moments, assuming these are videos, or they could be audios. And we can check off boxes and Dovetail will make a montage. So it'll put them, all those clips together, boom, 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 boom. And that way we can give to the client or show in a meeting, hey, here's a 2-minute video clip of 6 people who had trouble signing up. Boom, 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 boom. And I think that's really powerful. So I think whatever you do, it's important to invest sometimes in these tools that will help your work be easier. You don't necessarily want to tag just to say you tagged. The tagging is supposed to help you find themes and organize things so that you don't end up with 1,000 themes or something like that, because as you're tagging, you have to kind of come up with a system to limit the number of tags that you have. I looked at someone's portfolio the other day and they talked about how they worked with their co-researchers to come up with 44 tags, and they tried not to stray too far from that so that everything they found could be tagged by one or more of these 44 things. Hi, Mitalis, your question will be next. So I hope that helps for the person asking about the tagging. Tagging is important if you're going to do something with it later. If you didn't end up doing anything with it later, then it does seem like a bit of a wasteful exercise. But I would say maybe look at something like Dovetail and how the tagging can help you there. Dovetail isn't cheap, so it's not going to be for everybody, but I have found it to be reasonably priced, and so I use it when I need it, and when I don't need it, I think for $5 or $10 a month, you can just let your data sit there without them deleting your data and things like that. Oh, is this the same question as? No, different question. Okay, so I'm just seeing the anonymous question that came in. We'll answer that one after Mitalis. So thanks, everybody. We've got some questions. Let me just clean these up, and that way I can copy and paste them. See some good questions coming in. All right, let's start with this one. Okay, so we had, this was our previous question, and now we can paste in the new question. Here we go. Hi from Australia. Hi, good evening. I just started a new role in a scale-up. A lot of movement happening in the org, people leaving and joining, and also restructuring. Any suggestions to manage growth pains as a design hire? Well, I bet a lot of that is just out of your control. So I think the first question, and I think you're here live in the chat so we can have a little bit of a conversation, is what is your role? If your role is strategic and you are helping them improve their organization or processes or ways of working, then this is probably somewhat your responsibility or is somewhat on your plate to strategize. If this is not your responsibility and you are really just a UX designer or a UI designer, or let's just call it a worker bee, no offense, all of that stuff is probably out of your control, and there might not be much that you can do about it. My role is service design. I'm not responsible for those things. Exactly. Then tell yourself you're not responsible for those things. It's great that you're a service designer. So hopefully you are a researcher and good at organizing and finding and solving problems. You could try to come up with a plan for the scale up if you think you have something to offer. You know, can service design solve the internal problems? Maybe you want to propose some sort of internal service design adventure to try to improve what's going on inside the company. that's something you could do, but you might feel like, whoa, I don't have time for that. So, okay, maybe you don't have time for that. So as for growing pains, to me, the best thing you can do is put on that leadership hat, even if you're technically not leadership. If you are, so are you the only person working in UX or service design there? Is it really just you, or is there a team or a department? And also, who's managing you? Is there a UX manager? Are you managed by a product manager? Tell me a little bit about the structure. And while that person's answering, I'll just keep checking for anonymous questions coming in so I don't miss them. No, I'm not the only person. We have a leader and a CXO. Okay, so it sounds like it's really the CXO's job to manage the growth pains as a design. It's not really your job. You can speak with that leader where you see the need for it, and you can put on a leadership hat and come up with a little bit of a plan and say, hey, I came up with a plan, but you're the CXO. You run with this the way you want to. But maybe I'm not understanding your question, because if you do have a real UX or CX leader, I would think that they have to manage the how the team or department is going to grow. So I must be misunderstanding your question. Can you maybe ask it a different way to make sure I'm getting it? I apologize. The people leaving are across the business, like PMs or others in tech, sometimes the CX team. Okay. Do we know why they're leaving? Chances are it's not a great place to work, and they went and found something better. So the question is, so I'm still not too sure what your question is, because this doesn't sound like your job to fix. You answered my question, contributing to internal initiatives. Yeah, I think ultimately this is not your job to fix, but that doesn't mean you can't try to contribute to it and say to that CXO, hey, I see a lot of people coming and going. I hope you don't mind. I came up with a little bit of a plan of maybe how our department could grow, and to make sure that it's growing in a way where we're more likely to keep these people. Because I often think that when you can't keep people, it's a combination, it's a lot of things, but it could be a combination of process and culture. And it's probably other things too, but those two are the ones I see the most often. Our ways of working stink. Oh, I still have this in the middle covering my face. Our ways of working stink, and our culture is kind of crappy. And these are things that we're going to have to fix if we want to be able to hire people and keep people. That's what I find. Nice. I'll add them to my 90-day plan when I'm given opportunity to contribute to internal initiatives. Yeah, exactly. And I think that an interesting way to go is, if you have time, could you do service design or something related to it internally for the company? What is going on in here? I mean, maybe it doesn't require a traditional service blueprint because it's not a concrete task, but, put on that change agent hat and say, what is going on here? I've got a whole course on it. In case you're a curious cat, it's called Transforming Toward Customer Centricity. It's available as a video course and as a live workshop. It may be some things you're doing now, and it may be some things you haven't thought of, but I am recommending it to people. Again, I've tried to make it very affordable, so you can find it at deltacx.link/ttcc-training. So maybe take a peek at that, see if anything from that helps. So thanks for the question. I'm going to move on to the next question, which came in through the anonymous system, which means I don't yell out people's names. All right. Paste. And let's take a look. Okay, hi Debbie. I work for a startup, and there's a project given to me with no prior research. Anytime I bring up research, my PM says, we don't have much time, just do what you're told, follow the requirements. Is there a way to address these kinds of projects without research? I'm always facing a brick when designing these projects. This is one of the many downsides to working at a startup. Number one, they just want to go fast, and they often don't care about quality, even when they claim to care about quality. They would rather rush something out and find out later if it's good or not. And then often the ways they find out if it's good or not are flawed, so everybody just pretends that it's good. There's usually no respect for research because they've often read books about cool startups that say, you don't have to learn first. You need to build first, and you'll just learn later. And I find that it's very hard to change these people's ways because I find very often a startup thinks the best thing they can do or be is fast. Usually it's not good. Usually nobody says, you know what's most important here at our company? Quality. Quality. And if it takes us a little bit longer to do a project, that's okay because we care about quality and we care about product market fit. And we know that the best way to achieve product market fit is to understand the market. And to understand the market, we're going to have to do research. Otherwise, we're guessing. And guessing is risky. And hey, we're a smart company. We don't want to walk right into the ocean of risk. We want to be smart about risk, the way big companies are smart about risk. So I find that if a startup is looking at big companies and admiring them and wants to be more like them, say like Apple, Disney parks, then they're like, okay, how do we do this right? It's really important for us to release, even if we release an alpha or a beta or some sort of MVP, we still want to make sure there's significant product market fit, and we want to make sure that people would give this five stars out of 5. When we have a situation where people care less about that and they think they'll find product market fit through cycles of guessing rather than research and knowledge, I find it's very hard to change their minds, especially if you're being told, do as you're told. That tells me, I don't want critical thinking. I don't want your ideas. I don't want you to tell me where there are problems or trouble or risk for our company. I don't want to hear what solutions you've come up with. The requirements tell you what we're going to do. You are just the pair of hands to make that into screens so that engineering can build it. This is what we call production design. If you're not really using a good UX process, and especially if you're being told what to do and you're expected to be an order taker, it isn't UX, it's probably web design, and it's production design. You are there to just produce what someone else has decided we're making. You're not there to use any of your skills or talents or abilities. You probably have limited flexibility with regards to creativity because sometimes the requirements have said exactly how this looks and how this works. Now, chances are, because you haven't said something like, I'm thinking about quitting, I'm going to guess, but I could be wrong, that this is your first job. And that because this is your first job, you're thinking you have to stay here even when you're being told, do what you're told, do what we're saying. We don't care if you like it or not. We don't care if it's good or bad. We just have to get stuff out there and we'll figure it out later. You don't have to stay there because the problem is if you do stay there, you're not going to be happy. But more importantly, if you do stay there, what's going to be in your portfolio? Your portfolio is not going to show great UX work showing a great UX process. You're not going to show any research, or even if you're not the researcher, you're not going to show that you worked from someone else's great research. You're going to be able to show, hey, I did some design, but that design is going to probably be somewhat strictly based on what was in the requirements. So, hey, I designed what I was told to design. Yikes. No, I want to see UX work being done where you get to be a problem solver, not an order taker. It doesn't sound like you're going to get to test. That's sometimes the Trojan horse for us. Sometimes the Trojan horse is, okay, I'll design what we're saying, but it should really get a little bit of testing before we put it out in the public. Even just one round of fast, unmoderated usability testing can tell us where the bugs are and where there's room for improvement. And we have QA people testing our code before it goes out. Why don't we just do one round of usability testing and see where our designs or ideas could be improved before we spend time building what might be the wrong thing? If they say, nope, we don't need that, it's going to be tested when it goes live, then you have a company that doesn't believe in this at all. You have a company that doesn't believe in UX. You have a company that doesn't believe in customer centricity. You have a company that just wants to be fast. And maybe they'll be fast, but they won't necessarily be good. This will be guesses, and they're just going to have to hope that their guesses are good. So I would say while you work at that company and you just fill in the blanks and do what they tell you to do, I would probably be applying to other jobs. Yeah, I don't care if you've been there 10 minutes. I don't care if you've worked there 3 seconds. I don't care if you started there last week. You can still apply to other jobs. So please don't feel like you are stuck there. You can apply to other jobs, and if you get one, you can leave. But please watch episode 129 here on the YouTube channel, because it was about how to ask the right questions during an interview to get a sense of what is the environment that you're going into. Are you going into an environment that values research? Are you going into an environment where engineers don't start coding until designers have something, or researchers inform designers? There's definitely questions you can ask to see what kind of environment it is, and if you will be able to do good UX work at least some of the time. Hey, even I've been asked to just draw the screens we're telling you to do, and I wasn't always allowed to be a problem solver, but you want to be a problem solver at least some of the time, or if you've got UX in your heart, the job's not going to make you happy. Okay, and we had, I hope that helps. Everybody, ask follow-up questions if you have them. Follow-up questions are welcome. Even if you have a follow-up question to a question you didn't ask, you're welcome to have a follow-up question to someone else's question. Totally fine. So let's put up on the big screen what Karan is asking. And it says, would you recommend the Transforming Toward Customer Centricity course for someone who has 0 to 2 years of experience? Great question. Yes and no. It is absolutely true that my course makes a lot more sense when you've had your first UX job. If you have not had your first UX job, it's not that the course is bad for you, but the course definitely assumes that you've already been in some sort of job where, like our last question, you're running into problems and you're wondering, is this a place where I can make change? And if I think I can make change here, how am I going to make that change? Now, in a situation like the previous person, I would say there is unfortunately a very small chance that this person's going to be able to make change. I would still inspire them to try. It's worth trying. See if you can get testing in there. But I will say that from some of the last groups who've taken the Transforming Toward Customer Centricity workshop, some people who hadn't had their first UX job yet felt like, well, this seems like something that's going to help me in the future, but it's not really something I can do now because I don't work in UX. So just know that the course is scoring well. People like it, but it is definitely aimed at people who have that kind of change agent in their heart and in their blood and are looking to learn more techniques to be a change agent, knowing that sometimes it'll work and sometimes you can't make that change. That's the story of my life. I come in to try to make change. I leave people with a plan, and sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. So thanks for asking, and check it out. Read the page about the course and see if it feels like it's right for you. If it's not right for you now, but it's right for you in the future, it'll be there. I usually don't take down my courses unless I have a better one to replace it with. So it's not going anywhere. In fact, I'm working on the book version. So I'm hoping in a few months there will be a book version out for people who prefer books. I also have the video course version out. So lots of stuff. Let me just check that I haven't missed any questions. No questions there. This is Office Hours. Ask me anything. I usually hang out here for about an hour and I take your questions. All questions are welcome. No questions are insulting or wrong. Sorry, just seeing an email. And if we don't have any other questions coming up soon, that's fine. I'll be back at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. I usually do this at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. I know that's too late for Australia, so Australians, get your questions in today. I will answer any questions you have. For people in India, this is probably a better time, but I do have many people from India coming to the later one, even though I think it's 10 at night, 11 at night. Your time. I apologize for how late it is. And I also apologize that I think my stomach is going to start growling because I didn't have breakfast yet. Oops. Oh, I hear it. Oh, did you hear that? I'm so embarrassed. Sorry. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Janani. Always happy to see you here. And everybody, thank Janani. She's the reason that I do this one once a month on Australia time because she asked for it. So, hey, ask for something and you just might get it. Right now, I'm going to ask for hand cream because my hands feel like a lizard. But even with hand cream, I can still answer your questions. So, what does everybody want to know? What are your questions? Remember, you can ask a question anonymously at deltacx.link/ask. That way I'm not yelling your name out, especially if you want to talk about something going on at your job. So remember, you can ask here in the chat room or you can ask anonymously through our asking system. Also remember, the anonymous asking system is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're watching this later, you can always ask a question and I will have it be one of the first that I answer the next time we do office hours. Someone says, I sent one through the anonymous link. Okay, let me double check. Nope. Let me see my list of questions. No, I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry to the person who said they sent one through the anonymous link. Can you please try that again? I'm not seeing it. I'm refreshing and it's not coming through. I don't see it. And when I look at the questions we worked on so far today, let's see if we missed one. How important is tagging? Person working at a scale up and everyone's quitting. Person working at a startup when we have no time for research. And do I recommend transforming toward customer centricity? I'm so sorry to the person on LinkedIn, but it looks like my system has blipped and I don't have your question. So that was 10 minutes ago. I'm really sorry. I'm not seeing it. I'm refreshing and my system doesn't have it. So it looks like something in the system blipped. I apologize. I would say either put it here in LinkedIn or resend it to the anonymous one. You've put your name up on the screen, so now we kind of know who you are. You're not so anonymous. So I apologize. I do try to answer everything that comes in through the anonymous system, but I am checking and I am not seeing anything that I missed. So I'm sorry. It happens sometimes. Once in a while, there's a show where someone says, "You forgot my question." And it happens, but I'm not seeing it in my system. And I'm refreshing and refreshing and I don't see it there. So I apologize. It happens once in a while. Technology and UX. So while we wait for that question to come back through, any other questions or follow-up questions? Because we've got a half hour left, but I usually don't stay if there are no questions. So any questions, please ask them. I'm here to help people. A lot of people ask, how can I get mentoring from Debbie for free? It's this. I don't have time to mentor everybody for free outside of this. Okay, looks like Janani's working on a question that might take a few screens. I'm working on a project that relates to information architecture. We've done a few rounds of tree testing and feel like we've landed at a version that cannot be tested any further, but I don't think our stakeholders are convinced yet. Okay. Janani, why do we have to convince the stakeholders? Is it the right information architecture for the user? Or does it have to be the right information architecture for the stakeholders? Who's this for? Oh, sorry, it's over here. So that's my concern. The tree testing is supposed to tell us if we have the right information architecture. The tree testing should tell us that for the key tasks that people are looking to do in this system, they will be able to find it in this information architecture. But so if you did card sorting, if you worked on it, if you did tree testing, if people are able to use the information architecture, let's assume it's about navigation, but tell me if it's about something else. If it works for the users and we're recruiting correctly and this works for users, why do we have to convince the stakeholders that this is the right way? What you're really saying, I think, is stakeholders don't like this because it doesn't match their idea of what we should do. So the question is, does the stakeholder want to go by what was tested and found to work well for users, or do the stakeholders want to run with their own idea? If the stakeholders want to run with their own idea, then as I always tell you, you have to document that as risk. You have to have risk documentation that says, despite the research and testing that we did, which was carried out in the following ways for the following reasons, despite all of that, the stakeholders decided they wanted it done this way. This is a risk. If this becomes difficult for people to use, then we're going to get a lot of customer support calls. We could lose customers. They might leave and go to competitors, etc. Janani says, this is for users, but our stakeholders feel the architecture doesn't align with how the product is currently structured. Again, this is what the users want. So very often a company structures a product around something internal that's meaningful to them. And the problem is that this very often, not always, but very often doesn't match the way the users see things. I'll give you an example. There's a system that I like to use for selling tickets to events. It's not Eventbrite. It's a different one. I'm using Eventbrite right now, but I'm going to go back to my old one. And this is the old one that I'm talking about. If you go to their website, they have 4 different products. Each of them sells tickets to events, but one of them sells tickets to events when your event is a charity event. One of them sells tickets to events if you want people to be able to pay partially upfront. One of them sells tickets to, now to them, these are 4 different products, and you have to pick the product you want based on the features you want. To me, this doesn't make sense. I just want one system that will let me do all of these things. I want one system where I can let people make a partial payment if they need to, where it could be charity related if it needs to be. It could be charity related and they're going to make a partial payment. Why are these things separated? So remember that very often the product developed in the direction that someone decided internally and strategically was the way it should go. But that almost never involved users. So I would be telling them, and you're welcome to show them this video, that you've got a choice. If you've learned that users need this and you're doing this, you have 2 choices. You can either keep doing this and hope that your customers will put up with you, or you can do more of this and match people's needs. That means it's a system that makes more sense to people, probably needs less training, less customer support. Mariwa, thanks for your question. I'm going to copy and paste that and answer it after Janani's question. So thanks again for your patience, and I apologize that that fell through. I definitely didn't see that come through my anonymous system, so I'm sorry about that. That was silly. Wrong button. So back to Janani's question. So again, you shouldn't have to convince somebody to do something that customers and users need. And they ultimately have 2 choices. They can build what they like because they like it because, well, that's what we already have, so we might as well keep it. And in that case, why do anything? Why do anything? We already have this. Why try to make it better? If you care about what customers and users are doing and need and require and how they perceive things and how they organize things and what makes more sense to them and what can make them a better match to you, and this is all about product market fit again. How can you be a better match to the customer? And then you have to start making changes to the product because of what we learn about our users and their tasks and their needs, and we'll roll this one out as always. People, systems, and context. That's their choice. Now, you don't have to do that. You don't have to build what customers or users need or request or what research shows would make more sense to them. You don't have to do it, but what if your competitors do? Will you do it then? Well, if you do it then, why aren't we doing it now? What are you waiting for? What will it take for you to care about what the customers and users need? Do you need to start losing customers to the competition? Do you need to have more customer support calls that you really don't want to get, that you don't want to pay for? Do you need to spend more time and money building training so that we can train people to use a system that doesn't work the way that they expect it to? What would it take? Just tell me that. What would it take? Would it take competitors doing this? Well, then don't you want to beat them and be first? I'm going to write that down. That is my big quote for today. What would it take? What would it take for you to make that change? What do you have to see? I'm going to write that down. You write it down too. What would it take for you to make change? What would you have to see? Do you have to see the competitor do it? Does a big consulting company have to tell you to do it? Does Elon Musk have to tell you to do it? What does it take? And if that's what it takes, why are you waiting? You already know that somewhere out there is a good reason for you to do this. Why are you waiting? Why do you want to be the last one to do this? This is your chance to jump ahead of competition, assuming you have competition. And if you don't have competition, you can still improve your costs of poor quality. Look up costs of poor quality. It's from Lean Six Sigma, and it's one of my favorite things about Lean Six Sigma. It's a list of things that are costs for a company, both internally and externally. And you can reduce those costs and reduce your risk by building better products, that better product market fit. Madalena says, I am afraid it's often a case of our competitors are doing it. That's true too. Maybe the competitors are doing something stupid and this company copied them and says, well, that's the way we do it. Why should we do it the way, just because some of these people said they'd rather it this way, why should we do it? Okay, then why do anything? Why survey people to see what they think? Why check our ratings? Why even have customer support? Let them figure it out. You know, we can always talk ourselves into any action or any lack of action. The question is, when will we start caring about what customers need and how they perceive things? And sometimes I have to say to these people, tell me about a system that you use that you hate. It's hard to learn. It's hard to use. It seems like they didn't give a crap about you when they built it. Can you think of one? Give people a few seconds and usually, oh yeah, I can definitely think of one. Bop, 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 bop. Go, great. That's us. Why do you want to be that? That's us. Congratulations. And again, if that's good enough for this company, then you document it as a risk. You document that we went ahead and did this research. The research showed this, and we're not going to do it. We're not going to listen to our own research. Can you imagine Apple saying we spent $21 billion last year on research and development and we're not going to listen to our research. We're just going to do the thing that we like, etc. Gestures broadly at everything. Madalena says, yeah, which is one of the biggest drawbacks of competitors analysis. You don't know why the competitors built what they built. That's right. And you also don't know if the competitors are working behind the scenes right now to undo that, to change it, to make it better, to shift away from that. I'll give you an example. We had a potential client a month or two ago, and it was a large company that had bought out a smaller company. And both of them have had their systems for, I believe, some years. One company was 15 or more years old. I think one company was a few years old. And the next thing this company was going to do was completely redesign the system. They were going to try to take the best of each and then use good research. We had put in the bid on the research. They were going to use good research to say how this thing should look and work. They were going to blow it out of the water and completely redo it. So if your company is busy copycatting them, guess what? They're about to completely redo it. And you will have spent a lot of time and money copying them when they don't even want to be them. They're already on to the next thing. They know this isn't good anymore. So you're copying them or you think you want to be like them. They don't want to be like them. All right. Let's finally get to Mariwa's question with, again, my Continued apologies. Let's find that question. Ooh, hold on. Because I want to take everything you're typing and put it together and put it on the screen as one giant question. And I'm going to have to bring the font down because it's a giant question. But we welcome giant questions here because people have stories to tell. All right, here we go. I'm working on a fintech app that aims to support local merchants to track their cash flow. From the stakeholders' handoffs, I found that they know little information about their target audience, such as market size, work environment, how frequently they track the cash in and out daily. This requires a quantitative approach in order to help the stakeholders make a decision before hitting the qualitative research this requires. Should I only focus on why they would go for a digital platform instead of the current method they use? Side note, the app is already live. Another side note, they want to know why without knowing who and the work environment. Okay, so as usual, this sounds like a very common thing that companies and especially startups do, which is, hey, we have an idea. We're just going to put it out there. We like our idea. It doesn't matter who people are or what they're doing or what they need. I've seen a few of these apps before where we're going to help people track their cash flow. We're going to help them track their finances or things like that. And I find that pretty much every time, nobody has done research to see if people even need something like this. You know, how are they doing this now? So I think the problem is that quantitative isn't going to tell us very much. I know that sometimes stakeholders prefer quantitative because they like to see numbers. But I'm not sure quantitative is going to tell us very much. We can ask people in a survey, how do you do you track your cash flow now? Yes, no. But what does that mean? What does that mean? What does tracking your cash flow mean? I bet it means different things to different people. Does it mean that they count their money every day and put it into a ledger or a system and say, today I have this much cash and I spent this much cash on supplies? Does it mean they roughly know and it's kind of in their head? What does that mean? So I think that we even have to go kind of a level down and just figure out what are these small local merchants doing related to cash? But then we have another problem. What if they don't want to answer that question? Because cash businesses like to hide cash from paying taxes. A lot of them might not want to track their cash as precisely as you might think, because then they are supposed to pay taxes on all that cash. That's something that we see in America. Waiters and waitresses make tips. They're supposed to report those tips to pay taxes on them, but they were given to them in cash in some cases. Will they report all of that cash? So I think the question is, do people want to track cash precisely? Because they might not. They might not want to track cash because tracking cash means paying taxes on all of that or reporting all of that revenue to a government or authority. Now, some people who want to do the right thing completely by the book want to track the cash and pay all their taxes on that stuff. But Mariwa, you tell me, do these people want to track their cash precisely? I assume this is the cash coming in from the things that they've sold. A lot of people don't like to track that. They're happy to track the cash going out so that they can show those expenses on their tax returns and say, I don't want to pay taxes on some of the money I made. I had expenses. They might want to track their expenses and the money they've spent, but many cash businesses do not want to track the money coming in. So that would be my question. You can run a survey, but what are we really asking here? And I think you're right. We need to know who these people are. We need to know what their work environment is. And honestly, we need to know what their perspectives on tracking cash are. Most of the cash businesses I know are cash businesses because they don't want to track it. So, Mariwa, I hope you're still here. I hope the gears in your head are going and you're wondering about this, because you can build a system for people to track cash and it could be great, but it might end up having a very small audience of the people who want to be the most honest to the government or tax system, when most people are looking for ways to avoid the tax system. She says, I'm sorry, I thought Mariwa could be female. I honestly don't know your gender. I'm not looking. I just see a name. Mariwa, of whatever gender, says, you're right. I wanted to also know more about their awareness and perspective. Yeah. So we can talk about awareness and perspectives, but the problem is, do these people even want this app? And this is where we talk about product market fit. In order for a fintech company or startup to achieve product market fit, they have to build the product that fits the market. So that would mean there exists a good market of local merchants who don't have a good way to track cash, or don't like the way that they track cash, or it's inefficient, or something's broken. And you are the product who will come and solve that problem. Real problem, real solution. We call that product market fit. You can Google it. It's a common phrase. Thank you, Mitalis. Critical thinking. So the question is, you have a product. Where's the market for it? Does anybody want this? Is this a problem anybody wants solved? I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I had a startup that was a personal safety system, and I was sure it was going to help people be safer and feel safer. And what I found after we started putting it out there and testing it was that a very small slice of people liked it and used it and saw the value of it. And a larger group of people said, I don't need this. I'm not unsafe. And I would say, but you're a real estate agent. You go to houses you've never been to in neighborhoods you don't know to show a stranger a house. Anything could happen at any time. You sound unsafe to me. No, I'm not unsafe. I'll be okay. I found that people could not imagine themselves in a dangerous situation. Hey, you're the last person to close the shop at night and you're walking through a parking lot in the dark late at night alone. Sounds like you could use a personal safety system. No, I'm okay. You're okay until you're not. So my startup ended up having to shut down because most people didn't want it, even if I thought it was a great idea and was really going to help people. So I think that's what this company is going to run into. If we don't stop, and you're welcome to show them this video. Hi, Charlene. If you don't stop and take a look at, is there a real problem that we can solve, then you have a solution searching for the problem. And they're going to want you to survey people and say, do you need a cash tracking app? And everyone's going to go, yeah, sure. If we made a cash tracking app, would you use it? Yeah, sure. If it were $2 a day, would you use it? Oh, why not? That sounds great. If you give a survey like that, you'll probably get a lot of yeses from people who want to be polite and don't want to look like irresponsible merchants who don't want to track their cash. Mariwa says, that is my exact concern. So does this require a qualitative survey? I mean to know how many out of X number prefer to change and feel secure. Oh, I'm she. Hello, she. Yeah, no, I'm happy for you to ask all of these questions. Let's give you all the help we can. So a qualitative survey would be where our survey doesn't have a lot of multiple choice answers. It has a lot of open text answers, where we just ask people questions and they write sentences and a story, and we have to really read these later and find the quality in the answers. It's not just numbers. It's not just 73% of people said they would do this. You could do it as a survey and make sure they know it's completely anonymous. We don't know who they are. We don't know who their shop is. Anybody can answer it, because we might ask them questions that are uncomfortable about how they handle cash. And I think people might not want to answer your survey at all. I wouldn't be surprised if you find people not answering the survey or stopping in the middle, but you can still try to put a survey out there. So you could put a survey out there that says, do you track how much cash your business makes each day? Now, you could start with a multiple choice question to try to make them feel comfortable. I I keep written records of all of the cash I bring in each day. I keep written records of some of the cash I bring in each day. I have a general idea of how much cash I bring in each day. I'm not really tracking how much cash I bring in each day. Other, please write a sentence. Let's start there. That way we've given people some choices and we've given them an excuse, a reason to admit that they don't track all of their cash. Now, some people might not fill out the survey anyway. They might say, I don't want to admit to tax fraud in this survey. So again, you might not get people filling it out, but you can still try. Surveys are cheap. Give it a try. And you can say, let's try that. And then we can ask some people some follow-up questions like, what are the methods that you use to, which of the following methods do you use to track your cash? And again, we could try some multiple choice questions if we want to keep people comfortable before we ask them for open text answers. I keep a written record. I make a few notes on paper. I kind of keep it in my head. I work with an accountant. Or something else, write in your answer. So I think that you can start to take a look at that. And then the best question to ask and give them an open block is, based on how I'm tracking my cash now, here's how this could, based on how you track cash now, how could this be improved? How could this be better or easier for you? Open text box, end of survey. Thank you. That's it. That's all I want to know. Are they tracking their all or some of their cash, or will they admit to it? How are they tracking this? I guess another choice for that second question might be like a computer or software system. Could be a POS system, like maybe the system where they take cards or bank cards also tracks their cash. So you have to have more choices there than I gave you. Maybe give them check boxes so they can pick multiple of these choices. And then just an open box at the end. How could this be improved? And see what people say. I'm just curious. And that's just where I would start. And then I would go from there and say, okay, based on what I learned, here's the research I think I need to do next. But I think I would just start with a 3-question survey. And see if we think people are being honest. Do we even get anybody answering, I track some of my cash? That's honest. Will anybody answer it? If nobody answers it, no offense, but I'm going to say everyone's a liar. So, sorry, everyone's a liar. So that's probably where I would start. I hope that helps, Mariwa. Let me know if there's anything else we can do. I'm here every Tuesday answering questions, though the next 2 Tuesdays are unknown since I'll be on vacation and I don't know if I'll be able to have good enough internet or time for it, but I will try to fit in the office hours if it works with the vacation. Everybody is always welcome to join our Slack community, which is completely free. You can find the link from deltacx.com/links. Our Slack community is free. Check out all of the different channels we have there, and you can always post to the research and testing channel with your questions about research. We try to help each other out. But anyway, I am going to wrap up the show for today. I'm going to be back here in hours doing this all again. So I will see everybody. The show is usually 6:30 p.m. Italy time. I do it at 10 a.m. just once a month. If you'd like to check the show schedule, you can go back to this deltacx.com/links. We've got a Google Calendar with the show schedule, so you never have to wonder, when is Deb going live? When is she going to help me? So there you go. And again, I rely on all of you to spread the word about this channel. Won't you please tell your friends and coworkers and managers and other people about the Delta CX YouTube channel and how much we're looking to help people here. I'd love to get more people subscribing. Mariwa says, this is so helpful, adding on how much I love your office hours. Thanks. We need more sessions related to how we can price or evaluate our freelancing work. I already have shows on that. Go to YouTube and search for Delta CX Freelancing, Delta CX Freelance, Delta CX Pricing. I think I've got 2 shows that relate to that. One was like pricing and planning. Check those out, and if those still don't answer your question, let me know. But try those. Try searching YouTube for the stuff I've already done. All right, I'm going to play us out of here and get back to work. But thanks, everybody. Have a good day, and see you later with more office hours. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are